Welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Man podcast, where we help men create and live a clear vision for their lives, learn the secrets hidden in their own power that enables them to lead naturally, mastering confident communication while cultivating a magnetic personality that inspires others to follow and to fall in love with the life they knew they could always have, but felt like something was tripping them up. Today, guys, I have Paul Holland with me. I am so excited to have him here. You are going to learn a bunch of things today around investments, how to make more money, the best time to invest, how to avoid the mistakes and optimize the opportunities in crypto, and how do you become a sovereign individual and create your own safety and security not offered by the government. Paul, welcome, mate. Thank you so much for your time today. Really excited to have you here. And before we kind of dive into these things and people can walk away with some real resources, can you just share a little bit about yourself, but what brought you into this space? Because this space is still young in the terms of investments and investing. And what's life, I guess, been like for you over the last 10 to 15 years while crypto's been kind of finding its feet?
Yeah, cool. Hey, Josh, thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to actually have the chat and hopefully bring some good value to the audience, which is, always exciting to do. Crypto's been an adventure. It's been a journey. For me, it's been nearly 8 years now since I was first introduced to crypto, and my journey within crypto has taken many forms. It's taken the form of the investor. I have worked on crypto projects as a marketer. I have started startups in the crypto space, a couple of different startups in the crypto space, and had a go at those. So it's been certainly over the last 5 years, it's been this full-time, all-encompassing, immersive thing that's really, I don't know. I mean, it's created incredible results. It's allowed me to change so many things in my life, not just financially, but in terms of lifestyle, living arrangements, relationships, friends, etc. And it's something that appealed to me when I first got involved, because I worked in the banking system. When I first got out of school, I worked for the Bank of New Zealand. And there's stuff in the banks today that's the same as it was in the 1990s. Like, it hasn't changed. So one of the first things that excited me about crypto, other than the ability to make money, was seeing how the technology could change and how it could give us that opportunity. You used the word sovereign, how to be sovereign over your own wealth. That was what really excited me, is how I could actually use crypto as a tool to that.
Mate, you're not the first face that would come up when somebody thinks about crypto. They think of the Bitcoin bad boys, rolling around multiple Lambos, barely got facial hair, the scammers of the world, all these sorts of things. What has been your journey through, I know you've had some challenges in your past around money. What's been your journey through business, wealth development, wealth loss, all those sorts of things?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, over the years, I've done many different things. I worked in banking, as I said. I worked in television, worked behind the scenes on Lord of the Rings and King Kong, or Peter Jackson's big films back in the late 90s, early 2000s. I've sold business coaching franchises. I've had a telecommunications business. I had an importing business. Ultimately, I came back to marketing, to video, because that was my core skill set, which led to marketing. So I've had all of these things. But as you said, I've had some challenges along the way. 2009, I got divorced. I had a business fail. I had a bunch of stupid debt. I had debt associated with the business. I had credit card debt. I had car loans, etc. And I found myself in this awful position trying to dig my way out of this hole that I'd created for myself. At the time, I might have said that other people had stuff to do with it. But I've come to recognize that that's not a productive or helpful attitude. It was all my own doing. And I ended up bankrupt. I ended up having to go bankrupt to just try and get ahead. And at the time that I went bankrupt, of course, the debt to the bank and all of those sort of things were taken care of. But in the process of trying to dig myself out of the hole, I'd actually borrowed money from my family, my parents, and in the business that was failing, I'd borrowed money from my closest childhood friend. So at the time that I went bankrupt, I still owed 150 grand to my parents and my best mate. So bankruptcy, not something I would recommend for anyone, and certainly wasn't the fix to all the problems.
Yeah.
But, I learned a lot from it, but it then put me in a space where I'm like, okay, I've eliminated some of the financial trauma, but I still, I'm not walking away from the obligation to my family and my closest friend. That's not who I am. So it took me another decade to dig my way out, of that hole. A lot of the time living week to week within those businesses, invoice to invoice. Get behind on the rent and go, it's all right. When this customer pays that invoice, I know I can pay the rent and pay this bill. And when that invoice gets paid, I know I can pay this and this. So I've sort of had that journey and that experience of the stress, the health issues that came with it from the stress, etc. And then just time and working at it and constant focus to get back to that point where I managed to pay back my parents and my mate and get myself to zero again, which was sort of 2018 at that point. So six years ago. And at that point I was 46 years old, starting again from zero. So, not a great space to be in, but many lessons learnt along the way.
And it's not a unique story. Lots of men and people experience that, and it's not a nice place to be. And I'm so happy to hear that you've come out the other end with just the life experience and what you're doing with using that to help so many other people with this. And can you give me some idea of what are the kind of experiences or problems or journeys that people who come into your world to get your services, what are they coming in with?
It's a great question, because people come from various different from places. But what I would say is the overall theme is that they want control over their own wealth. They want to feel like they've got control over their own money, over their own destiny, over their own future. And they see crypto as an opportunity to do that, which I 100%, agree with. It's absolutely a great leveler in terms of what people can achieve with it. It's fraught with danger. I mean, it's incredibly high risk. I've seen people do ridiculous things. I've seen people take mortgages on their house and throw money into the market at the top of a cycle. And despite everyone, me and some others saying, don't do it, they just do it anyway, because the greed and the fear, the greed and the excitement takes over, and they see it going up and think it's going to continue forever. And, so people make these mistakes. So the space can be fraught with danger, but approached with the right attitude, the right guidance, and a system, then it can definitely, be incredibly profitable and incredibly life-changing for people. But people are aware that our world is changing. Our parents, our grandparents grew up in a generation where you got a job, you worked, you got your gold watch and your pension, and away you went. And that pension could have come from the company you worked for, or more recently from the government in terms of, the government pension or what have you. But that's going away. Our governments are getting poorer and poorer. They're less able to afford to run the ever increasingly expensive country and the expenses. If you look at, a country as a business, it has income and expenses. The income comes from taxation. The expenses are the roads, the hospitals, the schools, the welfare state, etc. We're in a situation now, New Zealand, Australia, sort of specifically, where we have an aging population. So you've got a reducing taxpayer base.
Yeah.
So essentially, the government income is shrinking. So what do? Well, they introduce new taxes. They introduced GST years ago, bumped the GST up. They introduce taxes on this, taxes on alcohol, taxes on fuel, taxes on food to try and keep the income going up. On the other side, everything's getting more expensive to run. Levels of bureaucracy, they're trying to get a pothole fixed. I hate what it would think to actually price out the repair of a pothole. All that keeps going up. You've got more and more people now on benefits of one sort or the other, which is an important part of society. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be there, but it's got to be managed well, because you've got this increasing expense base, this reducing income base. Governments aren't able to afford it. So I know here we've seen the pension age raised from 65 to 67, here being Australia.
Yep.
I imagine in the next few years we'll see it bump to 70, and then at some point we'll bump to 75. By the time I get there, I mean, I'm not going to need it or rely on it. There may be something there, but by the time my kids get there, no shot of the government looking after you. So you need to be, becoming sovereign over your own wealth. And that's a long-winded answer to your question, but people coming to me, that's what they're looking for, is they're looking for this opportunity to accelerate how they can have some freedom and some control and some certainty in their future.
I look at those two words, pension and retirement, and I'm like, they won't even exist in the dictionary by the time I get there. I'm 39 now. I'm like, mate, you're dreaming. It's just not going to be a thing.
No, not at all.
It's interesting. You mentioned it earlier before we chatted. It is just, it's fraught with danger. But one of the most beautiful things about crypto is that you can start at $1.50. It's so low. Where Australia and New Zealand are very much the same in terms of their mentality about, well, I've got to buy property. That's how I'm going to get ahead. And we've got lots of we call them accidental millionaires over here. Lots of really good chippies who, found a piece of land, built their own house, and then they sold it. They're like, look, I think I just became a millionaire. I'm like, I might do that again and again and again. Or parents who happened to buy a property and then it was $35,000 to buy it, and now it's worth over $2 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Good luck getting into the market. And there's all things we can talk about there, but the reality is that it's very, very hard to enter. Yet crypto, although fraught with danger, which only comes with our own mindset, which I want you to talk about of how you manage that as well. But it offers something so amazing and such easy access. What do you say to people who are of that mindset of just like, well, it's just filled with scams. It's too complicated. I'm just going to lose all my money. It's too hard.
Yeah, cool. It's a great question because there's a lot of people that do have that belief. They're like, crypto's a Ponzi scheme, crypto's a scam. I mean, first off, it's not. Okay, it's a new form of asset that we've never had before. And like any new technology, it's always greeted with trepidation and things like that. My good mate, my business partner, Roscoe Patterson, who I know you've had on the pod as well, he tells this great story about when the automobile came out, I think in the UK, they used to have someone run along in front of it with a flag. So you had your car, you used to have someone running along in front of you with a flag to warn people there was a car coming. Right? So when a new technology emerges, it's always met with, this thing. There are a lot of scams. There are a lot of scammers, as with any new space. There's a lot of opportunities. But what I tell people about that is that crypto itself is not inherently good or bad. It's just a thing, right? It's like anything. Money's not good or bad. It's just a thing. It's how you approach it. And you made the comment before that I'm probably not the typical guy people picture when you think about a crypto educator. And it's so funny because, I go on YouTube and I look at some of the crypto bros, as they call them, and I just cringe. I'm just like, it's so not who I am. I was on a call recently in a coaching program that I'm in with a mentor, and we were talking about content creating and things like that because I'm doing more of it now. And he's like, oh, have you heard of this guy? You should go check him out. He's doing really good stuff. And I put it on YouTube. And Lambos and penthouses. And I'm just like, it's just, oh my God. Those guys have their place. Some of them do a great job. Some of them are awful.
Yeah.
But that's so not who I am. I'm obviously older than those guys. I approach crypto from a long-term wealth perspective. One of the things we were talking about offline is just the idea of doing the slow and dumb and boring things to build wealth. I remember my mother telling me when I got my first job, mum and dad didn't impart a lot of wealth education on me because of their generation. They didn't have it. But I remember my mum saying, save 10% of everything you make. Now, if I'd just done that one thing
Just that
for the
one thing,
last 30 years, it's like, life would be different. So it's thinking about crypto from a long-term wealth point of view, thinking it as a tool to add to your arsenal. I mean, yes, property's great if you're in the market, if you're able to get in the market. There's ways to get exposure to property now with like fractional ownership and things without owning an entire house. But you've got the share market and things like that. But you've also now got crypto. And crypto, just the way it works, if you're being smart about it, if you understand the cycles, does give you that opportunity to accelerate that growth and the gains you can make towards personal wealth. But you do need to be smart about it for sure.
Now, I'll be one of I'd say the first, but I was definitely the last to put my hand up and say, holy shit, getting into crypto, there was so much greed and so much FOMO, and man, did I make some money, and man, did I lose some
money. Yep.
Holy shit. Like, yeah, the experience still haunts me. What do people say when they come? Does anybody come to you and say it's too late? We've missed the boom. I think I'm not going to make the returns that I could have.
I don't get a lot of that, but yeah. I do get people saying, is it going to keep doing what it's always done? And I don't know. Like, no one can know. We don't crystal ball. The big moonshots, like, buying Bitcoin for $2 and now it's worth 60 grand, like that doesn't happen regularly. You still get some of those opportunities, but now they're more by fluke than anything. Like the meme coin thing. Like right now, the phase of the cycle we're in, crypto moves in a 4-year cycle. So you'll have a big up market, which I think we're about to experience right now. But then you'll have a year where it crashes back down and it'll come down 80%, 90%. And then you'll have a couple of years where it sort of accumulates and grows, and then you start to get into the growth phase again. And at the same time in the last cycle as to where we are right now, we saw the same thing, which was the meme coins. So last time you had Dogecoin and Shiba Inu and things like that. And now you've got all these new meme coins. And yeah, if you bought one of those at the right moment, you could turn $100 into tens of thousands of dollars, but it's luck. Right? There's no skill involved in that. It's just pure luck. And you're just as likely to lose your money as you are to make it. So I don't tend to get people coming to me saying, oh, have we missed the boat? But they're like, how do we, is it going to keep doing it? How do we take advantage? And that's where I sort of say you have to understand the cycles. You have to understand the cycle. You have to understand where we are in the cycle, because the way that I teach crypto, there's different things that you do at different times in the cycle. Like right now, as we talk, it's October 2024. I think we're about to go into a bull run. So now you want to be holding tokens. There's certain tokens that you want to be holding, because if we run up over the next 12 months, then, there's going to be a vast majority of the hard work done. But then you've got 3 years until that happens again. So what do you do in that 3 years? And this is where crypto as a broader industry is really exciting, because you've got the avenue that we call decentralized finance, or DeFi, which allows you as an investor to do things that typically you would have needed a bank or a broker to do before, whereas you can do them yourself now. So you can essentially lend out money and earn interest on it. So you can earn yield on your crypto, and that can easily be at the bottom end. You can easily earn 8 to 10% a year when the bank's giving you 2 or 3, and that's not keeping up with inflation. So easily you can do that. But then you can look at different ways of doing it, which come with much higher levels of risk. But I mean, right now, I think I made 6% overnight on a yield position.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of stuff you can do. The market doesn't have to be shooting up all the time for you to be profiting in crypto, but you need to understand all the tools and things you can do to be able to profit from it.
And how would you help a guy like the old me who comes in, greedy as anything, got the FOMO on? How do you help me regulate my mindset and understand what I should be doing and what I should be looking out for?
Yeah, cool. It's a great question, actually, because you do need to regulate your mindset. The first thing that I do is I try and help people understand that crypto to me is as valid an asset class as anything else, right? We've grown up with property and shares, precious metals. And then if you want to go outside of that, you could go fine art if you knew anything about it,
Yeah.
don't, but you can invest in those sort of things. Crypto has had this sort of new kid on the block, make quick money, become a millionaire, buy a Lambo kind of mentality. Whereas to me, it's not. It's a new version of property or gold or shares. It's just a new tool that's available to us. So you don't have to get rich overnight, and I encourage people not to think about their crypto wealth as part of their everyday money. Like, do your job, run your business, focus on those things, look at how you can add more value. If you're an employee, how can you add more value to your employer so that you can get promoted, get a pay rise, etc. If you're running a business, how can you improve the business? How can you grow the business? That pays your bills day to day. Crypto, especially when you're first getting involved, something to look at for long-term investment, right? That's for your financial future. Now, that doesn't have to be 30 years in the future. That could be 2 years in the future, could be 3 years in the future, depending where you are on your journey. But the first thing is really just to think about your time frames, okay? So many people rush into stuff thinking, oh, I've got to get rich now and time's running out. And I had a really interesting experience recently, which gave me a really big reset on time. And that my wife has an uncle who's 91 years old, and he's a total legend. He rides his pushy 30 Ks every morning. He's out riding his bike, loves a beer, loves a whiskey, loves tinkering in the shed, just active, sharp as a tack, have a good conversation, tell a joke, just an all-round legend. And I just had this really great conversation with him, and I was driving home, and I just was thinking, wow, 91, And I did the math, and I figured out he's 39 years older than I am. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I worked out that 39 years ago, I was 13. And it just hit me in the face that my entire life, everything I've ever done in my entire life through high school, every job I've ever had, all the travel I've ever done, all of those experiences, that amount of time, I've got all of that all over again in front of me just to get to where he is now. Now, God willing, health willing, making sure we're looking after our body and our mind as well as our finances and things like that. I'll get to 91 and well beyond. But that amount of time is incredible. So I've got a business that produces income for me. All my bills are covered. I live a good lifestyle. I get to do some cool shit. I get to travel and things like that. I don't need my immediate wealth to be ready for me tomorrow. So just helping people understand that time frame and that path, I think really helps with that regulation of the emotions that you're asking about.
Mate, they're so important for a guy who considers himself pretty aware. Made some dumb mistakes. Wow.
Don't we all, man? Don't we all?
It's just classic. What is it? Like, what does the journey look like for somebody, onboarding through what you do?
Yeah. So coming in, if someone was to come into our training, we run a training that's called Wealth Farm at the moment. That may change, but essentially we have it's an online training with a bunch of modules. So people come in, they study, and those modules run them through everything about crypto. So the basics of understanding what is a blockchain, what is crypto, what is a gas token, etc. And then we walk through the different ways that I believe you make money in crypto, which is the DeFi stuff we were talking about. So earning yield in lower risk, long-term ways and higher risk, higher yield ways. We look at some trading strategies around how you can know when to buy and sell. What are some indicators? And I'm not talking super complicated, read the charts. Like, I'm not teaching people how to be a whiz-bang day trader. That's, again, not our thing. I'm teaching people how to look for patterns in the chart, look for some simple sort of stuff. And then probably one of the most important things that we teach in there is we talk about categories of coins, because there are so many different cryptos now. Like there are thousands appearing all the time. You know, every day there's probably thousands more coins appearing. So we're teaching people how to make an assessment of a coin, because if you go down to the pub and your mate says, "Oh, you know, I just bought some milk coin," or whatever random name they came up with, you should get into it. How are you meant to make an assessment of that, right? If I said to you, I bought some shares in Fletcher Building, you can go, okay, well, Fletcher Building are huge. They're building all of these massive skyscrapers. I can go online and I can find publicly available data about their income and their expenses and their profitability. And you can research and you can make a decision based on facts. How do you do that about milk coin or Dogecoin or Shiba Inu or anything like that? There's nothing behind them. They're just purely a meme. But not all crypto is like that. So within crypto, I mean, there's 3 categories that I sort of classify. Well, there's sort of 4. Gas tokens, DeFi tokens, memes, and narratives. Okay, so a gas token, every blockchain needs its native token to exist. Okay, so for a blockchain to exist and function, you have to pay for transactions, and that's called gas in the crypto world. So there has to be a token that is used to pay for the transaction fees on a blockchain. Without that token, the blockchain ceases to exist. So that token has utility, and you can make an assessment of that token based on the blockchain. How big is the blockchain? How busy is the blockchain? How many applications are being built on the blockchain? How many users have wallets on the blockchain? Right? So you can start to make assessments. The second one is DeFi tokens. So this is where we go to like some of those platforms where I was saying you can earn yield or you can stake your crypto to get rewards, etc. So you can make an assessment. How much money is locked up in this protocol? How many other people are doing it? What are the historical yields from this? So again, you can make assessments, okay? Then you've got the other 2, which are narratives and memes. So narratives is more what's going on at the moment. So right now it's AI, right? Everyone's raving about AI coins. In the last cycle, it was the DeFi coins, right? So I was just talking about DeFi, but that was the thing in the last cycle. The one before that, it was altcoins. So it was Ethereum and Litecoin, all that stuff coming on the market. So for this bull run, the narrative is AI. So AI, gaming, distributed infrastructure, things like that. So those don't have on-chain revenues, right? They don't have, when I say on-chain, I mean on the blockchain. So like the DeFi or the gas tokens, you can't make an assessment based on on-chain revenues and things like that. But you can look at the news around the projects and what they're doing. Okay, so you can start to go, okay, well, here's all these AI projects. This one's actually launching real-world stuff. It's got actual users. The market cap of the coin might be, $5 million. And you go, well, that could go to $100 million. There's a 20x return. So you can make those assessments. And then the 4th category is meme coins. And that's your cat coin, your dog coin, your frog coin, which has no utility. It's pray and hope kind of stuff. But getting people. So when they come, they're joiners, they come through modules, they're learning all of these things. They're learning how to do yield. They're learning how to understand the charts. They're learning about these categories of coins so they can start making assessments for themselves. Because it's one of the things that I do is I don't tell you what to buy. I don't say, right, these are the coins you should have in your portfolio. Yes, I'll talk about specific coins and things I'm looking at, but I want to make you independent. I want to give you skills and tools so that you can do this for yourself. Right? You can make these assessments for yourself. So I'm building a tribe of people who are able to think for themselves, make assessments for themselves, be financially responsible, and build wealth over time. And then we have calls every week, and just, we've got a great community. Just love getting on and chatting about crypto and what's going on in the world.
That's awesome. I love it. There is so many there are so many rabbit holes to go down, and even in terms of like elections going on, governments going on, and all those things, the interest in how they impact the market in that way is just, it's amazing. And it, like having your community, just having, so it's like you've got multiple research assistants because everybody's got a bit of a finger on the pulse.
100%.
That's
100%.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Is there anything that we haven't spoken about today that you would really love to share with the listeners?
I guess, I mean, I did touch on this before, but, you know, having made a lot of financial mistakes, you know, straight out of the gate, straight out of high school, as I said, I got that job at the Bank of New Zealand. I'd been there 6 months. They said, oh, you're doing good. You're a good employee. Here's a credit card with a $3,000 limit on it. I bought a car stereo. I think I bought a new television, some new skis, ranked it up to maxed it out in about 6 weeks. And then it took me like 2 years to repay it. You know, so right from the beginning, bad behaviors. I used to own a few properties around Wellington, and because I was doing all right in property, I had good access to funds from the bank. But when it all dried up and went away, the realization was I never actually had any money. I was just living on credit the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, I was borrowing against the future value of those properties. So some basic financial habits of understanding that the value of investing and the importance of investing for your future. And I know when you're a young guy and you're like, you said you're 39, I'm 52. I remember being 18, giving someone grief because they were turning 20. Like, you're an old man. Like, it's hard to comprehend being 40 or being 50 or 60. But seriously, your future self will thank you if you do the dumb and boring actions. You know, start investing. Property, we talked briefly about the difficulty of getting into property. Not owning a house does not define your financial future at all. We've come through this generation where people have been accidental millionaires, as you said, that the value of property's gone up. All of their wealth is in property. But if you look at a country like Switzerland, and I can't think of the exact numbers in this, but Switzerland versus the United States, they have a higher per capita number of millionaires, but their property ownership rate is about half.
Crazy.
And the reason being is that they get financially educated. So they get financially educated at school. So less than half as many of them own a house, but more of them are millionaires because they learn that they need to invest in themselves. They need to take a little bit of their income every week, every month, whatever you get paid, you know, take 10% off the top, invest it, and allow that to compound over time. And if you think, I can't afford to take 10% off the top, change that and think, how can I get 10% more? You know, how can I increase my earning capacity? What golf clubs are sitting in my garage that I haven't touched for 5 years that I could put on Trade Me or Gumtree for $100 and invest? And yeah, it's not exciting, it's not sexy, but that slow and boring kind of thing will make the difference. And if you're interested in crypto, you can do it quicker. But be smart about it. Don't just go and buy meme coins, please. And have some way of knowing when the market is topping out, because what we're about to see with this bull run, I've now seen twice before, is people's emotions just get out of control. There's a great diagram that talks about the psychology of a market cycle. And at the very top, just before the peak, it says euphoria. I'm a genius. This is going to go forever. And seriously, that's what people think. And that's why that story that I told about people mortgaging their house and putting money in the market. A quick story of a client who, it's funny, I spoke to him. He only joined me about 2 or 3 months ago, but I spoke to him about a year ago, and then I couldn't remember who I'd spoken to and who told me this story. But he told me he put 250 grand into the market right at the peak of the 2021 bull market.
Love it.
And then he watched it go down and down and down, and he got paralyzed and didn't know when to sell because he hit that euphoria moment. He's like, this is great. I'm going to be a billionaire. And then it goes down. And the first stage, I can't remember the name of it, but the first stage is, oh, it's all right. No, it's just a little relief. We'll keep going up. But then it goes down and down and down. And he just got paralyzed and didn't know when to sell. And his 250 grand went all the way down to $20,000. And now, 4 years later, He's still sitting on it, waiting. And yes, the market has run up this year, so he's recovered some value, but he's not back to where he started 4 years later. And he's like, I didn't lose because I haven't sold. I said, well, yeah, but that's not true because you don't have $250,000 that you did have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, be smart about it, and crypto especially, learn to understand the cycles so you can know when it's time to get out.
Cool. And so how do people get in contact with you? How do people find out more about your course, what you share in there, how to get educated?
Yeah, great. So I'm on all the socials. Paul F. Holland is how I come up on Facebook and Instagram, etc. Or people can go to wealthfarm.co.
Cool.
And there's actually just a video on that page that talks about the program, talks about crypto education. Or my personal website's meetpaul.co. So people can go there, read some blog articles, etc. Reach out.
I'll put it all in the description as well, so people can just click on the links. It's perfect.
Awesome,
Right.
man.
Paul, thank you so much for your time. And this actually started with Roscoe. So this is the first time I asked the question to him. I figured I've just thrown it in the podcast now. What are you?
Wow. It's interesting because your brain goes straight to who am I, right?
Yeah.
What am I? Father, husband, friend, investor, educator, adventurer,
There we go.
lover of life, and adventurer.
I like that. Paul, thank you so much for your time, mate. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope it lands well on the listeners' ears and just gives them, you've gone through it, I've gone through it. It's tough to see, it's tough to experience, and I hope people can find a way to connect with you and understand the easier ways to get to where they want to go. May not be the rocket ship that they were hoping the meme coin could deliver them, but hopefully it's something that really helps. So thank you so much for your time, mate.
No worries. Thanks for having me on, man.
Cheers.